Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Al-Shai Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom to you all. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video, I asked ChatGPT, whatever happened to the Biblical Edomites? So it says the Edomites, a people frequently mentioned in the Bible, were descendants of Esau, the brother of Jacob, later known as Israel. Here's a historical summary of what happened to them. Biblical and historical background, origin: the Edomites were traditionally considered the descendants of Esau, son of Isaac and brother of Jacob. Location: they inhabited Edom, a region south of the Dead Sea in present-day southern Jordan. You have this famous, semi-famous tourist attraction called Petra. And when you look at the architecture of the building of Petra, the design is that of the Roman Empire and or like Washington D.C. So we believe that it was Edomites that built that structure. Anyway, you can look it up. Matter of fact, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me do this here. Bear with me for a minute. Petra in Jordan. So let's look at that. This guy looks like a vocab. That's Petra. Let me do this here. Let me go to maps. Okay. So this is known as the Petra Museum. Trying to get my bearings straight over here. Let me come on back. The hell just happened? Bear with me for a minute. Okay. We go to imagery. That's Petra in Jordan. Esau is south of the Dead Sea. They're actually south of Moab and Edom, the lands. It clearly looks like Roman architecture. So Edomites had to have built this. And what does it say in Obadiah? They build it, in not too many words, they build their walls in the rocks. Matter of fact, let me go here. This is almost like a back to the basics. Okay. Obadiah. I'm also going to the NLT. Back to the basics. So-called Europeans did not descend from the sons of Japhet. The sons of Japhet would be brown people. We strongly believe that they are, it makes all the sense in the world, that they are the Polynesian type people. The Samoans, the Hawaiians. Okay, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith Yahweh the Most High concerning Edom, or the Edomites. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise, ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rocks. So let's go to the NLT. You have been deceived by your own pride, because you live in a rock, in a rock fortress. A fortress made of rock. That's a rock fortress. You built it into the rock. You dug into the rock. Fine work, though. You did this a lot of work. The Nebateans did not build this. The Nebateans did invade Esau and took Petra. You get a good enough shot. I'm trying to get a shot where they actually show a close-up of the eagles. I believe they're right here, perched on in front the facade of the building. You used to be able to get a real close-up. Look at that. You can see that this is mountainous, and they just built a, their habitation is high. That's the 2 stories. Look at this. Look at this. This is even higher up. Look at that. That's Roman architecture. I'm trying to find a close-up of the eagles perched on the Edomites love this place. I feel like I've been here before. Like I said, you used to be able to get a close-up of the eagles. I believe these are the eagles right here. So what happened was they migrated further north, up into the Caucasus, and inhabited those areas, which is Italy, Germany. Back to the basics, back to the basics, back to the basics. It said, let me go back to this. 3rd verse. You have been deceived by your own pride, because you live in a rock fortress. So your Dunyan rings. Inside joke. Relation with Edomites, present Dead Sea in present day southern Jordan and parts of Israel. Relations with Israel, the Edomites often had. Why do you want to be Israelites when you're the Edomites? They don't like it when you tell them that they're Edomites, and they know about we spoke to Small Hats, and we told them that they're the Edomites, and they want to leave. They all of a sudden they want to look at their watch. Oh, we got to be somewhere. Are you familiar with the story of Jacob and Esau? You mean Jacob and Esau? Yeah. I said, you are Esau. Oh, we got to leave. So they know they're taught the Orthodox Orthodox small hats. They know about the story of Jacob and Esau. The certain scholars and rabbis among their people, they say that the Romans took us over. These were the Edomites. At one time, maybe 2-3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, you go there, you get all kind of articles on Jewish rabbi slash historians and archaeologists saying, "Oh yeah, the rulers of the Roman Empire were descendants of Edomites, and they took us over." The Jews. You do it now. You be lucky if you find one article on it. Matter of fact, let's go test that theory. How can I phrase this? The people of the Roman Empire descended from the Edomites. Oh, this is a book right here. I got this book. It's right in hand's distance. Right in hand's distance. It said the Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomite. I happen to have this book right here in hand's distance. Let me see. Here we go. Wait a minute. The Roman Empire, the Edomite, the empire, the Edomites, and that's the Romans sacking the treasury, took the menorah. These are gold, precious gold. They took the money. They took this to build the amphitheater, the Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomites. Audio on Libro, so you can get it on audio. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. The Edomites, from Esau to Edom to Idumea to extinction. So Edom, okay, where am I? Okay, 446 BC, Exodus. The Edomites were Transjordan. This is Mount Seir. And it's telling you that they went up north, like I said. So they wanted our land. Look at this. Ooh. Edomites, 1926 to 550 BC. So they were in our land. That's Jerusalem. Only after the Babylonian captivity of 605 to 587 BC did Edom move into Judah's territory. Kadesh, impossible at anyway. So they're always snooping around. Nabatean kingdom at Petra. The Nabateans are, I believe it was, Apostle Gramlock can help me out. He answered this before. Give me the name of the woman. It was a Nabatean princess that Antipater had married, if I'm not mistaken. Hadn't gone through this in a while. Check this out. This is the god of the Edomites. Look like an Edomite to me. Look like Barry Manilow or Dr. Brown. So we come over here to all. Esau, the ancestor of Rome. No, the people of the Roman Empire did not descend from the Edom. Well, I don't know how Esau became, it says right here, how Esau became Rome. Rabbinic Jacob and Esau, pagan Rome, and the Christian Empire are the Roman descendants of the Edomites. So you get mixed signals right here. The Roman had no historical ethnic affiliation with the Edomites. You get mixed signals. Who are the descendants of the Edomites? Well, we know Herod was living during the time of the height of the Roman Empire. So let's come back over here. Location of Edomites, a region south of the Dead Sea and present-day southern Jordan and parts of Israel. Relations with Israel, the Edomites often had hostile or tense relations. The Edomites often had hostile and tense relations with the Israelites. They do to this day, including during the Exodus and later during the monarchies of Saul, David, and the kings of Judah. David enslaved them. David and Solomon. Decline and disappearance, conquest and displacement. And so they always wanted that land back. Remember, 70 AD. After that, the Romans eventually became ruled by Jake, and eventually you had the Arabs, what you call Palestinians, move into that land. It says, well, the Arabs took over. They took over Egypt. You go to Egypt, the Arabs run Egypt. It says in the 6th century BCE, before the Common Era, that's 600 years, the Babylonian conquest of Judah, 586 BCE, disrupted the region during this time. Remember, Edom was around because they said, raise it. Edomites may have taken advantage of Judah's downfall to expand into Negev Desert, or the Negev Desert, south of modern-day Israel. The Edomites themselves were displaced from their traditional territory by Nabatean Arabs. So when the Nabatean Arabs pushed them out, the petrol is already up. But you have scholars say, oh, the Nabateans built that. No, they did not. It says around the 4th century, 400 years BCE, before the Common Era, Idumeans, the Edomites, are you listening, vocab? The Edomites became known as Idumeans under the Hellenistic rule after the conquest of Alexander the Greek. During the Hasmonean dynasty, you had Edomites there. 2nd to 1st century BCE, John Hyrcanus, forcibly converted the Edomites, the Idumeans, to, that's why they use the word Judaism. The Jewish people say that they practice Judaism. Judaism is a religion that they made up. The word Judaism stems from the word Judah, which is a tribe of Israel. So you can be a Chinese and practice Judaism, but that doesn't make you a Jew or Yahweh. The most famous Idumean was Herod the Great. The Herodians, they rubbed elbows with the Romans, and they had high positions. Herod the Great became king, and his son took over to became king. That was the royal house of the Edomites, which the Romans protected. Plus, they had the Herodian dynasty they had their own army. The Roman appointed king, they put them in that position of Judea or Yahweh at the time of Yahushai's birth. Basic information before leaving Earth. Disappearance. After the Roman, now, Vocab Malone said, oh, there was nothing. At first he said, oh, the Edomites are done away with. What did he say? Them Christians started going into the Apocrypha. Although they don't deal with the Apocrypha, they started going to the Apocrypha. What is that? 2nd Ezra chapter 5. Where the Maccabees destroyed all the Edomites. That's what some of these scholars say. No, the Maccabees didn't. You know what kills that? Well, what about the Herodians? Didn't they descend from the Edomites? So that's BS. After the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE, Common Era, and the latter Bar Kokhba revolt, which was another, you had Israelites and you had Edomites, you had these different people that had other wars with the Roman authorities, which at this time, Jake was sitting up there as emperors. It didn't mean that you had an emperor that knew he was an Israelite. You had an Israelite that didn't know he was an Israelite saying, oh, he was just a black Roman. The Idumeans, like many other groups in the region, lost their distinct identity. So you Edomites don't even know who you are. Just like you Israelites didn't at one time know that you are. Now you know that you're Israel. That's why you got so many videos on TikTok. If you watch the elder Manataz Akbar, he goes to TikTok and he goes, I guess, the Hebrew Israelite section, and he gets little shorts of different jakes that saying that we're not the Israelites, that we're going off, that you got to come back to Jesus. Well, they're saying that because they lost their identities. So our job, we're not concerned about them, and they kind of offended at the fact that we're even telling them that the Israelites. Well, you're just gonna have to be offended. You don't have to accept it. All you got to do is hear it. Once you hear it, if you do not accept it, then that's on you. As King Marshall would say, that's on you. Over time, they were absorbed into the broader population of the Roman and later Byzantine empires. That was Jake. Effectively disappearing as a distinct people. So wait a minute, vocab. There's more. Wait a minute. You said they just disappeared. There was the last statement you made concerning Edom, you said there was nothing written about Edom after 70 AD. No, but it was the Edomites, the Herodians that were standing after they defeated Jake. Because remember, when you go back to that first war, which they call the Roman-Jewish War, they were fighting two enemies. They were fighting the Edomites. They were fighting Herod's personal army, which is known as his men of war, Herod's men of war. All you got to do is put men of war in the blue letter, and it'll speak about Herod's men of war. It says, because I believe, I'm not going to go into that, something else. It says this. It says, the Idumeans, like many other groups in the region, lost their distinct identity. So a lot of these people were mixed up people. You got some Elamites that think they're Arabs. You got some Midianites that think they're Ishmael. You got some Ishmaelites thinking they Egypt. You got these Egypt itself is controlled by the Arabs, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, these are our foreparents right here. This is our, see these tall black, these are our, we came out of that line. No, you didn't. Then you got the original Egyptians south of Egypt, which is Sudan. At one time it was called Sudan. Esau came in there. You had two regions, North Sudan and South Sudan. North Korea and South Korea. First of all, you had one Korea. How do you get North Korea and South Korea? Two different governments, systems. Esau does that. It's called divide and conquer. Over time, they will absorb the Edomites and even other nations, absorbed into the broader population of the Roman and latter Byzantine empires, effectively disappearing as a distinct people. That's why Edomites say, oh no, I know. You don't got to tell me. Tell me something I don't know. I know I'm an Edomite. Yes, I have the records. No, they don't know that they're Edomites. Just like the majority of Jakes don't know that they're Israelites. Just like the Elamites don't know that they're the East Indians don't know that they're the Elamites. The Arabs don't know that they're the Ishmaelites. That's why the Ishmaelites, rather, the Arabs, the word Arab is, the word Arab just means mix. That's all it means. So Esau calls all of them Arabs, towelheads. The people of Iran are not Arabs. They're Elamites. They're East Indians. They're Pakistanis, which are Persians. So that's why the Most High used us to separate the nations from the Israelites to the Edomites to the Moabites to the Hamites. Then you got 4 groups of the Hamites. Then you got a lot of our people that came out of the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, which came out of West Africa. Areas like Nigeria and Ghana and these places. There was a big castle that's still there today. It's a tourist attraction. I did videos on it. I did a couple of videos on it years ago in Ghana, where they kept the slaves. You know what? Let me do this. I'll give you the name in a minute if it comes up. The castle that housed the slaves in Ghana. Several castles and forts in Ghana served as important centers during the transatlantic slave trade, where enslaved Africans, which were Israelites, were held before being shipped to what? The Americas. You Edomites don't want to talk about that. 2 of the most well-known and significant slave castles in Ghana were, you had another one. You had El Mina Castle, St. George's Castle, and you had another one. And why did we go into slavery? Because we had to fulfill the curses. This is the oldest European building south of the Sahara, initially built by the Portuguese in 1482 as a trading post, primarily for gold and ivory, which are commodities. Guess what? Black Africans, which are Israelites, were also commodity. We were commodity, like gold, silver, platinum, pork bellies, lumber, wood, all fine wood were commodities. Ivory. It later became a major center for the Atlantic slave trade. Who set it up? Who built it? The Portuguese, Edomites. Serving as a depot for enslaved Africans captured from various Western African kingdoms and brought to the coast for sale. Now you had Jake selling Jake, because we ruled that whole area. It was Jake selling Jake. The castle house dungeons where captives were held in horrific conditions, some covering the curses, sometimes for months, awaiting slave ships. It also featured the infamous door of no return. In other words, once you left Africa, you weren't coming back. The last point of passage for enslaved Africans leaving their homeland. Today, El Mina Castle is a UNESCO, the UN and UNESCO stands for United Nations, World Heritage Site, and a significant place of pilgrimage for those seeking to connect with their heritage. Like you got a lot of Jake that go to this castle, and they'll connect themselves. Well, we were the slaves, you know. But you tell them that the Israelites, they can't see it. Okay, let me come on back. We learned a lot today. Okay, disappearing, right? It says the most famous Idumean was Herod the Great, the Roman appointed king of Yahweh at the time of the Messiah's birth, disappearance. After the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE and the latter Bar Kokhba revolt 132 to 135 CE, the Idumeans. So wait a minute, they were still around, even up to the point of Circle 135 vocab. Like many other groups in the region, lost their distinct identity. That's why you don't identify. When we tell you the Edomite, what's an Edomite? Because you don't know. You lost your identity like everybody else. But now you're beginning to understand that you're Edomites. That's why these Edomites look for a way out. Well, Gentiles can make it too. Over time, they were absorbed into the broader population of the Roman and later Byzantine empires, effectively disappearing as a distinct people. And that was us too. Like I said, Jake don't want to wake up. So look, that's all we got to do is tell them once they don't get it. Hey, that's on them. That ain't on us. Disappearing. It said absorbed into the broader population of the Roman and later Byzantine empires, which is known as the Eastern Roman Empire. Western Roman Empire fell. There was the Tetrarchs, the Tetrarchs, the four Tetrarchs. I showed you that. The four Tetrarchs, two of them took the west of Rome, they were all Jakes, and two of them took the east, which became the Byzantine Empire. One of the ones that were ruling was Constantine the Great Father, Constantius. I don't remember the other name, Maximilius, Gorilius, and there was another one. It says, and that's a famous, give me a second. The four Tetrarchs in Venice. There we go. Well, four tats confirmed from the search. There we go. This is what I wanted, and I go through this every once in a while. These were Jakes. This was before. This is around two something. Wait a minute. Why aren't they showing the whole picture? Okay, here we go. Two of them took the west, and the other two took the east. They even give you the names. We two fucking crackers. See how they chopped the noses? You see the beards? Woolly beards. Kind of see the beard there. All of them had swords. You understand? It was beautiful, man. It says, legacy. Though the Edomites disappeared from history because they were absorbed into the Roman and Byzantine Empire from history, they were the subject of many prophetic oracles. Okay, you said prophetic oracles. That means something that's going to happen in the future. Now, for Esau to say, oh, the Edomites are done away with, all those prophecies about Esau happened. Okay, when did Isaiah 34 happen? When did Jeremiah 49 happen? When did Ezekiel 25 happen? When did Ezekiel 35 happen? It says, though the Edomites disappeared from history, they were the subject of many prophetic oracles in the Hebrew Bible, especially for their hostility toward Yahweh. That's in Obadiah. IG in Obadiah, Isaiah 34, Jeremiah 49, Ezekiel 25 and 35. These texts often reflect theological as well as political concerns. Theological meaning prophetical, meaning of God, the study of God. So biblically, these prophecies have not come to pass as of yet. If you're interested, I can do a deeper archaeological findings or how later Jewish and Christian traditions viewed Edom. No, I don't need that. Anyway, I didn't have nothing planned, so I just went with the Spirit. Anyway, with that, on to the next one. Shalom. You guys are the Edomites. So when we call you, you should answer to your name. Shalom. On to the next.